being here and of what this means. And I'm not even looking at the goddamn speech, there you go. And I apologise in advance if I swear, if I ad-lib. So Cara's going to speak towards the end, but she's capped at a very small thing because she has no voice. In case you don't know, we formed in 2021. We are all volunteers, including all of our therapists. We have a team of about 25. The 4 board members, our committee members, and then a range of therapists, and everybody volunteers their time. We all have jobs outside of the Institute. We have families. Some of us are even lucky enough to have lives. That is not necessarily myself or Cara. But Cara will speak towards the end. She's literally here at the moment to hold me and to give me tissues if I cry. It also looks like a big speech, but it's on size 50 font because I'm old now and I didn't want to wear my glasses because it might wreck my hair. And Cara's told me I've got to stop making her laugh, so I'm sorry. Good evening, everyone. Before I speak about the Blue Butterfly Institute, about what we do, or even about what tonight will make possible, I want to acknowledge something that I believe is incredibly significant. During the week, I had a massive epiphany and it really humbled me. Tonight, Campbelltown Council, led by Mayor Darcy Lound, have done something far greater than support a charity and the Shake Start. They have taken a powerful step towards dismantling shame. For far too long, victim survivors of sexual trauma have carried shame that was never theirs to carry. They have been silenced by it. They have hidden because of it. And many have spent years believing that what happened to them somehow diminished their value, myself included. Tonight sends a very, very different message. When respected organisations within our community publicly stand beside the Blue Butterfly Institute, you are also standing beside every person we support and every victim of childhood sexual abuse and sexual assault. You are saying, we see you, we believe you matter, and your healing is worth investing in. That is incredibly powerful. At the Blue Butterfly Institute, we don't believe healing is simply about surviving what was done to you. We believe healing is about reclaiming the life that trauma tried to take from you. When I founded the Blue Butterfly Institute in 2021, it came from my own lived experience and from a very simple belief that something beautiful could be created from the darkness. We began with one support group. Since then, we have grown into a community providing free counselling, support groups and holistic therapeutic services to people who have experienced sexual trauma and to their loved ones. We educate community about the impact of trauma on the brain and on behaviours. We advocate for changes to legislation and for our clients. I could stand here tonight and give you the numbers. I could tell you how many people we support and how many people in our society need support, how many hours our incredible volunteers give, how much those therapeutic services would cost if our clients had to pay for them. But numbers don't tell you what we really do, because our impact isn't measured only in appointments. It's measured in lives. Healing can look like someone sleeping through the night for the first time in years. It can look like someone finally understanding that what happened to them was not their fault. It can be setting a boundary without apologising for it, walking into a room without scanning for every exit, learning to trust another human being, allowing yourself to be loved, laughing, really laughing, and suddenly realising you haven't done that for a very, very long time. It can mean becoming the parent you wanted to be, returning to study, going back to work, building friendships, finding your voice. Dreaming about a future instead of simply trying to survive the present. Sometimes healing is even quieter than that. Sometimes it's waking up one morning and realising that what was done to you is no longer the first thing that you think about. That is the work that you are supporting tonight. At the Blue Butterfly Institute, the people who come to us are not broken people who need to be fixed. They are people who have survived experiences that change the way they learn to understand themselves, other people and the world around them. Our role is to create a safety, connection and community in which they can begin to discover who they are beyond what was done to them. And something extraordinary starts to happen when people begin to heal. The impact doesn't stop with them. It moves through families, through friendships, through workplaces, through parenting, through relationships, through communities. When one person begins to heal, the people around them experience that healing too. Cycles change, children grow up differently, relationships become safer, people begin to participate in their communities again. They discover that life can be more than something they endure, and that is why tonight matters so much. Because when a community chooses to invest in the healing of victim survivors, it isn't simply funding a service. Sorry, mouth is getting dry. It is changing what that community believes about sexual trauma. It is saying that this is not something we whisper about anymore. It is not something survivors should ever have to carry alone. And shame does not belong to the person who was harmed. That cultural change is every bit as important as the therapeutic work we do, possibly even more important. Our vision at the Blue Butterfly Institute has always been bigger than helping people survive their trauma. We want people to know that an extraordinary life can exist on the other side of it. Not because the past disappears, not because we pretend it didn't happen, but because eventually the life becomes bigger than the trauma. There can be joy again, there can be purpose, there can be connection, there can be love, there can be laughter, there can be dreams. There can be an entire life that belongs to you. And tonight, every person in this room becomes part of making that possible. I also want to acknowledge the people who aren't in this room. This week, I spoke with people who told me they would have liked to have been here tonight supporting us, but they couldn't, because this still hits too close to home for them. And I get that. There are victim survivors who aren't ready to walk into a room where sexual trauma is spoken about openly. I'm not even entirely convinced that I am. There are people who aren't ready to use the word survivor about themselves. There are people who have never told another human being what was done to them. And there may be people sitting quietly amongst us tonight who recognise themselves in everything that I'm saying, but whose story belongs only to them. To every one of those people, I want to say this: you don't have to step into the room yet or ever. You don't have to tell your story. You don't have to be ready because somebody else thinks that you should be. Healing does not have a timetable, but we will keep creating spaces for you. We will keep having the conversations that you aren't ready to have. We will keep challenging the shame that was never yours to carry, and we will keep the door open. Oopsie. So that if one day you are ready to step through it, you will find us there waiting for you. Perhaps that is another reason why this room matters so much tonight. Because every time a mayor stands beside us, every time an organisation like West Leagues Club stands beside us, every time a business like Marsden's, Maverick Supports, Cameron Braid puts its name next to ours, and every time someone in this room chooses to talk about what we do, you make that doorway a little easier for other people to walk through. You make seeking help a little less frightening. You make being a survivor a little less isolating. And you tell someone who may never know your name, there is a place for you here. The funds raised tonight will allow us to continue expanding the therapeutic support we provide and to create opportunities for deeper recovery and healing. But perhaps the greatest gift you are giving us tonight isn't simply financial, it's visibility. You are helping us bring conversations about sexual trauma out of the shadows where they have lived for far too long. You are helping us replace silence with conversation, shame with compassion, hopelessness with possibility, and isolation with community. 5 years ago, the Blue Butterfly Institute began with an idea that something beautiful could grow from something incredibly painful. I could never have imagined standing in a room like this and seeing an entire community standing with us. I wish every person who has ever carried the shame of sexual trauma could see this room tonight and see all of your faces. For those who can't be here yet, I hope somehow they feel what is happening inside it, because when I look around this room, I see a community saying, we see you, we believe you, you matter, what happened to you does not define your worth, you deserve support, you deserve healing, you deserve an extraordinary life. And when you're ready, we'll be here. To Mayor Darcy Lown and Campbelltown City Council, to every sponsor, every organisation and every person who chose to be here tonight, thank you. Thank you for trusting us, for standing beside us, and thank you for helping us create a community where victim survivors no longer need to hide in shame, but can know when they are ready to step forward, there is an entire community ready to walk beside them. At the Blue Butterfly Institute, we often talk about creating something beautiful from the darkness. Tonight, looking around this room, I think we have. Thank you.